How does it feel to be on a minefield?
If it doesn't scare you, then you don't understand.
Right now we're overwhelmed with news every day about how our system is collapsing, international law is collapsing, there's crisis after crisis, and it can feel really daunting. We've decided to take some experts on global problems and the solutions to those problems around in Switzerland to talk about what are the solutions and how can we solve these problems right now. I'm Beatrice Fihn. Welcome to Summer Talk. Well, we're here in beautiful Switzerland. Today we're going to have Erik Tollefsen. He is the head of weapons contamination at the International Committee of the Red Cross. So he's basically in charge of ICRC's work to help clear areas that have landmines, cluster munitions, other what they call explosive remnants of war. Basically, leftover stuff that can explode that remains in the ground after a war. And before we start, here is what you should know about this issue. Landmines are still a threat to people. In 2024, civilians made up 90% of the more than 6,200 victims. And almost half, 46%, were children. The treaty that bans these weapons, the Ottawa Convention, was born in 1997 and is now facing pressure. Several NATO countries on Russia's border, such as Finland, Latvia and Poland, are now withdrawing from this treaty, citing a need to start using these weapons again. This rollback undermines decades of progress. Once again, landmines could be normalized, leaving innocent people and particularly children exposed to indiscriminate harm. Hey! Thank you for coming up here and
it's truly my pleasure.
Accepting my crazy ideas.
Yeah? Let's see how it works out and how it plays.
Yeah. We're going to head up there somewhere, and hopefully we'll clear up by then and we'll get this beautiful view. So also, the good thing is that when you have a camera crew with you, you have to walk a little bit slower because they carry a lot of equipment. Yeah. So when it's really steep, I'm like, I'm walking slow for your sake.
Exactly.
You ended up in this field. Like what landmines, cluster munitions, explosive weapons of war, why does that matter?
I had this role first in a military context because I was what we call a ATO, which is an explosive ordnance disposal specialist. But what we saw at the time is that no matter how many resources we threw into this, the number and scale of accidents and incidents were just going up and up. Yeah. And that really motivated me to kind of look at ways on how we could improve this work. And
my experience has always been on the kind of policy side. I can question a lot. Like you sit in these conference rooms and you talk about paragraphs and treaties and working groups and annual reports, and on the ground something else is happening. And it's hard sometimes to feel the connection.
I think having a dialogue is important.
You seem very patient. I'm not so patient.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated to go to work at the ICRC on this issue when it feels like, we see on the news daily that they just ignore the Geneva Conventions, they just bomb civilians, how do you keep going?
Yeah. Last night I received a message from our team in Ukraine that a partner organization had been struck by a missile and lost apparently 5 D-miners and had other wounded. And of course, so I was working on a response with the condolences this morning. And it's just heartbreaking. Yeah. I'm lost for words. When it's not just the treaty aspect, but it's also the fact that, that humanitarians are being targeted in conflict. And that's really, really problematic. But to answer your question, maybe that's what motivates me.
When the US started slashing USAID, the budgets, and Elon Musk was in there and cutting funds to humanitarian organizations, development organizations, NGOs. And what I'm referring to here is what you maybe read in the news when the US, led by Elon Musk, slashed 83% of USAID programs. And those cuts have been estimated to lead to more than 40 million preventable deaths by 2030, including 4.5 million children under 5. It was the first time I just felt really, like it was like a really hostile tone.
Or perhaps it's always been there.
Yeah.
But it's just been amplified because now we have more access to social media, more apps people engage on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like I waste a bit too much time on trying to keep updated, which is also a strategy to keep us overwhelmed, I think. Some of these big humanitarian organizations should be trusted by people. It's not like a random person, there's research, there's facts, there's evidence, they go through processes before they say something. Like, we can't just have opinions. Like, we have to have something fixed that we can relate to. But then I can get of course everything is just opinions and everything is just norms in the world. Like, even states are just made up. Borders are just made up. Like, governments are just made up. Like, we just play along with it. Research has shown that you get 60% more creative when you walk compared to sitting. Do you think we should send a security council for hikes?
Oh yeah. But to throw back at you've been asking me so many questions. Do you see ways of how, civil society can perhaps rethink the approach to make a bigger impact?
But I thought a lot about how, especially when you work on treaties, you get so sucked into the treaty and the process and the diplomatic process that it's really hard to remain a bit critical of it. We kind of forget to bring the public along with that. And then you kind of lose the ability to connect with people outside. Yeah. I think it's important that we don't give up on trying to talk about how to fix problems and that there are solutions and there's a lot of people, a lot of actors that are really working to make it better, to fix these things. How does it feel to be on a minefield? Is it scary?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't scare you, then you don't understand much of what it is. And of course, we humans, we are being trained from very small about consequences. I mean, in accordance with, the military norms, you should mark it, you should fence it, you should map it. Yeah. But what we find in the field, normally the terrain looks just like this.
What Erik told me later is that landmines are highly inefficient weapons. In the past and ongoing wars, evidence shows that fields with anti-personnel mines only slow down attacking forces briefly, sometimes for as little as 2 hours, while leaving the land contaminated for decades. Their short-term tactical delays doesn't outweigh the long-term harm and destruction of communities and the environment. It's a deadly legacy that will continue to kill people long after the fighting ends.
Typically, the majority of contamination, research shows, is happening in the area where the poorest people live. The other thing is, of course, on the longer term, it's also an impediment for development, for people to get education, to go to school, for people to access markets, and for countries to get out of poverty. What do you have? What do you have any fears? Not mines, but like other things. Should I say my wife or should I not? No, you should not say that. We could have taken the train, huh? So whose idea is this? To take these two office characters and chase them up the Swiss mountains. Yeah. That's my idea. Always the crazy ideas. One of my frustrations with this work sometimes is that tendency to think that because we're the good guys, or we think of ourselves as the good guys, that questioning ourselves and kind of having a bit of self-critique is not welcomed because you'll harm the cause. I don't know how you feel about failure. I don't know, I think a lot of people want to
stop aiming for things because they don't think they're going to get it. Like I noticed that at the United Nations that, no, I want to do this, but I don't quite dare because I don't know if it's going to succeed or not. Because maybe they won't get enough votes, or some other country might be upset about it, and of course it's like big issues in governmental processes.
People don't like to fail.
No.
But I think we need to accept it's a part of the game, that you can't get it right all the time.
They're almost there.
We're almost there. I just need to catch my breath.
Yeah. I played squash last night. That was a bad idea. I should have had a rest day. You need to be persistent. Not give up. Come on, sweet. Yeah. Hey. Good girl. Oh. We made it.
Yeah, we summited.
High five.
Wow.
Look at this.
Hey, thanks for bringing me up here.
Yeah, isn't it gorgeous?
Oh, it's incredible.
Like one of the things and this is also the reason why we're doing this and why we came up with this idea, is that when you look at this, there's no way that you don't feel responsible to protect this. Let's go. Welcome to Summit Talks. Is this the best podcast setup ever?
Without a doubt.
We are here to talk a little bit about landmines today.
So landmines is a military weapon that has been around for quite some time. The problem we have with these landmines is that they don't distinguish between a soldier or a civilian. Whatever you see in the movies, it's not the way it is in reality. The detonation is so fast. It happens in milliseconds. In
Bosnia, a young man died from stepping on a landmine in a forest. That was a mine from 30 years ago.
The Ottawa Treaty came into force first in 1997. It has been a tremendous success because it's been global. The challenge now is that some member states have started the withdrawal, or others are considering withdrawing from the treaty.
Even issues that feel like we won, like we have to keep, like it's never finished. The sun is starting to go lower, so I think it's time for us to continue our hike and walk down.
Ja, flink jente.
Kom papaya.
Ja, flink jente. Ja, ja.
Let's go down. Did you feel like we missed anything in the podcast?
I mean, what is the key? It's one part is to educate people, but it's to make people a little bit thirsty, isn't it?
Yeah, but I need to accept that you don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
You can just do one thing, and that will also be good. Like really think about, because I think we are going into a new time. There's still a lot of really good stuff, but it's more challenging given the kind of tension in the world, given the geopolitical situation. I kind of like to remember how bad things have been in the past, because I think we forget sometimes that things have been really bad in the past, and we take all of the progress that's been made for granted. What's your coping mechanism?
My coping mechanism? I go hiking in the mountains, especially some of these intense work scenarios I've been in. For instance, when I was in Gaza for 5 weeks last year, when I got back, I had some cognitive issues.
Yeah.
I was walking down in the garage and I didn't know why I was there. Also, I was driving and, I forgot where I was going and that didn't happen to me before.
Yeah.
And also, I was trying to compose a text, an email, and I found it really hard.
Yeah.
When you feel yourself having these thoughts and kind of spiraling into the abyss, maybe then it's time to go hiking.
Yeah.
And end up with this beautiful view of Lake Geneva.
It was a nice day.
It's pretty incredible.
Like one of the things and this is also the reason why we're doing this and why we came up with this idea, is that when you look like this, there's no way that you don't feel responsible to protect this.
Yeah.